When Jesus spoke these words, he did so from the awareness that we have an unlimited source of light. The indwelling Christ is represented by the symbol of light. So this morning I will be lighting the Christ candle as a reminder of our responsibility to keep our own light brilliantly shining. We invite everyone, if you're remotely located, to create a sacred space right where you are. And as I light that candle, hopefully you will be able to light your own. Oh, Daryn did it for me. Thank you, Daryn. He's our speaker this morning. Looking forward to hearing from him. At this time, I'm going to read the Charles Fillmore Invocation. I invite you to take a deep breath and know that we are now immersed in the presence of pure being. We are immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. We acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. And in thy divine wisdom, now erase my mortal limitations. And from thy pure substance of being, of love, of life, bring into manifestation my world according to your perfect law. Now again, good morning and welcome again, everyone. My name is Julienne Henson, and it is my great joy to welcome you to our Sunday celebration service. Our speaker this morning is Daryn Wells, who is also serving this congregation as its board president. And we are so glad to have him this morning. And if you are remote, please go into the live chat and make some comments if you like. We'd love to hear from you. I am going to repeat our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, all love. Please join with me in this affirmation. I invite you to speak it aloud. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, all love. I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath. Focus your mind on one thought in that statement and hold it in consciousness. From the consciousness of that one thought, let us again affirm our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, all love. And now, for Unity of Columbus, let's review our vision, mission, and value statement. Unity is a way of life. We work together in divine partnership with one another and with spirit to achieve this vision. United in spirit, we are a loving community, co-creating a world of peace, abundance, and joy for all. Let's affirm that together. United in spirit, we are a loving community, co-creating a world of peace, abundance, and joy for all. We are a mission-centric, values-focused ministry. Through our services, classes, and other programs, we fulfill this mission. With God as our source, Unity of Columbus inspires people to realize and express their divine nature in an awakening world. Let's affirm this statement together. With God as our source, Unity of Columbus inspires people to realize and express their divine nature in an awakening world. And now our core values, answering the call of spirit. We are together, creative, authentic, learning, and loving. These are our core values, the DNA of our spiritual community. And this morning, August the 29th, 2021, the word for the day is awareness. The affirmation is, the world feels new as I grow in awareness. Spending time in mindful contemplation increases my awareness of my surroundings. As I concentrate and focus my attention, I shut out distractions and settle my unquiet mind. My world begins to feel brighter, vibrant, and more alive as I notice the soft sounds and minute textures and colors I overlooked before. Spending time in prayer increases my awareness of God's goodness, which I share with others. When I am patient and kind, generous and forgiving, this goodness returns to me as kindness and gentleness in the people I meet, and ease and grace in all the places I go. The world has not changed, but I have. My awareness of God in and as my life has opened my eyes and ears, my mind, and my heart. Our scripture today comes from Psalms 119, verse 18. Open my eyes so that I may behold wondrous things out of your law. Again, the word is awareness. The affirmation, the world feels new as I grow in awareness. Let's take that together. The world feels new as I grow in awareness. Unity is the publisher of the Daily Word, so remember that, and if you care to, you can subscribe. At this time, I'm asking Daryn to come forth and give us our meditation for this morning.
Thank you, Julene. And I invite us now to get comfortable in our seats. And wherever we are in the world, let's take this time to create a sacred space. We close our outer eyes. And in accordance with that daily word of awareness, we can become ever more aware of our oneness with each other, with spirit, with all life. And so let us take 3 slow and deep breaths. And in so doing, we release on each exhale any tension, anxiety, any lingering thoughts of separation or lack that we may have carried in with us. And as you draw the breath in, feel your chest expand and your heart rate slow to a steady beat as we are synchronized with the one great heart that beats for all. And so we allow the words and the sounds that we hear in this meditation to stir our souls, to awaken us, to open our hearts, that we may behold the light that we are and the light in one another. Be still. As it is written in Scripture, we hear the voice of Spirit whispering from within us, "Be still and know that I am God." We listen as we grow aware of our relationship with Spirit. And so let us take just a few moments to celebrate our unity with all that is in the silence. And as we bring our attention and awareness back to the room where we dwell, back to our minds, our bodies, our feelings, we remember that we are the manifestation of a divine idea. We are sons and daughters of the Most High. And with a deep breath of gratitude, we allow a smile to pass across our lips as we remember who and whose we truly are. And our cells sing with adulation, with fervor, with divine radiance, for we are truly the light of the world. And when you are ready, you may open your eyes and be present to the presence of God right here and now. Thank you, sweet Spirit, for this time of meditation. Amen.
That I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know. Open my eyes that I might see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Place in my hands a wonderful key that shall unclasp and set me free. Silently now I wait for thee. Ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me. Spirit divine. Silently now I wait for thee. Ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me. Spirit divine.
It's one of my favorites. Open my eyes that I may see. Thank you, Jim. Wonderful. In fact, he's played two of my favorites today. By the way, today's service is brought to you by the letter D, as in, well, certainly that's the first letter of my name, but it's also part of the chorus you guys sang earlier. D, 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 and then there's a do, 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 do verse. So you guys did great. Yeah, I knew you could do it. Believe in yourself. and you can do it too. And many greater things than these shall ye do, to quote the master teacher. Today's message is entitled, As Thou Wilt. And I'll get to that in just a moment. But first, a little bit of humor for you. Those of you who know me and have known me for a while know that I'm what I affectionately refer to as a recovering Catholic. So here's just a wee bit of religious humor to break us off. Little Philip was spending the weekend with his grandmother in the country. And his grandmother decided to take him to the park on a Saturday morning. This is in the winter, of course, and it had been snowing all night. And everything was beautiful, just the pristine white hills and the crystals and the icicles just everywhere, right? And his grandmother commented to him, Doesn't it look like an artist painted this? This beautiful scenery? Did you know that God painted this just for you? Yes, Grandma, replied Philip. God did it all, and he did it left-handed. This confused his grandmother, and so befuddled she asked him, "What makes you say God did this with his left hand?" "Well," said Philip, "we learned last week at Sunday school that Jesus sits on God's right hand." That's one to think about. So, as I said, today's message is As Thou Wilt, and I got this from the 19th century philosopher Thomas Carlyle, who wrote, "Every day that is born into the world comes like a burst of music and rings itself all the way through, and thou shalt make of it a dance, a dirge, or a grand life march, as thou wilt." In today's English, that's as you will. As you will. And so today we wrap up our August series on the great power of will, the 8th of what our co-founder Charles Fillmore called the 12 powers. And just briefly, I'll review the power of will in our spiritual capacity is represented in the Bible by the Apostle Matthew. He was the tax collector among Jesus' disciples. And the part of our body associated with the will is the center of the brain, and the color is silver. Goes perfectly with last month's color, gold, representing understanding, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. And so will is what Charles Fillmore refers to as the executive power of the mind. Did you guys know that you are the CEOs of your own lives? You're the executive. Within you is the power to make decisions, to make commitments, to form relationships, to decide and to walk the path that you have decided to walk. And all of this, within the mental realm, the emotional realm, the spiritual realm, is the power of will. And so Charles Fillmore, in the book, The 12 Powers of Man, which he wrote 90 years ago, over 90 years ago, he writes, as the executive power of the mind, human will is the negative pole of spiritual decision. Right here is where those who study man from a personal viewpoint fail in their estimate of his power and his accountability. As mortal, living in a material world, he seems circumscribed and limited in capacity and destiny. Philosophers have studied man in this cage of the mind, and their conclusions have been that he is little better than a reasoning animal. Have you ever felt that way? Circumscribed and limited in a cage, perhaps a cage of our own making, that there was nothing you could do, or that circumstances were just too much for you? Sure you have. Of course you have. We all have. It's part of the experience, yes? Part of that human journey that we're all on together. Now, Fillmore, those of you who've been studying this unity stuff for a while, I think you can all sense that there's a big but coming. Fillmore has or Papa Charlie, as he's affectionately referred to by his students, there is a big but here. And he goes on, but there is a higher and truer estimate of man. And that estimate is made from what the academic school of philosophy would call the purely speculative side of existence. Failing to discern his spiritual origin, they fail in estimating his real character. As a product of the natural man, will is often a destructive force. Nearly all our systems of training children have been based on breaking the will in order to gain authority over the child and obedience from him. We should remember that the right to exercise freedom of will was given to man in the beginning, according to Genesis, and that will should always be given its original power and liberty. Power and liberty. It is possible, however, for man to so identify his consciousness with divine mind that he is moved in every thought and act by that mind. Jesus attained this unity when he realized that he was willing, not in the personal, in other words, that realm of the ego, but in the divine. He said, "Not my will, but thine be done." Close quote. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that idea of will being given its original power and liberty. Origin meaning the state of origin. In other words, the source. And we affirm many times, and we've even affirmed it in song, that God is the source. The word that has been translated to religion, etymologically speaking, traces itself back to essentially mean a return to origin, a return to source. And that shift occurs first in our consciousness, yes? Because we're never apart from our source except where we believe ourselves to be. We're never separate from one another. We are truly one. But in our human experience, we kind of get ourselves distracted with this and that, and we start to believe that we're separate. And then there's those poles, those pairs of opposites, that we see with the two eyes. And so within our power of will, we can decide, kind of works together with what we call the judgment faculty or the wisdom within us. Okay, this is the path that I want to take. Now, that idea of power and one presence, one power, there's a difference, a distinct difference between power and force. Last week, Cedric Miller, in a wonderful message, talked about that very idea of not my will, but thy will be done. In fact, that was the name of his talk, Thy Will Be Done. And if you're so inclined, I invite you to visit our YouTube channel, Unity of Columbus Talks, and check that out, because it was an amazing message. But let's talk about power versus force. Of course, those of you who may remember your high school physics remembers that force is or equals mass times acceleration. Mass times acceleration. Force. Power, as defined in Webster, is a source or means of supplying energy. Unity, we would say the power is the source. And the cause, the first cause of the universe and all that is, comes from that one presence and one power. Force says, my way or the highway. Gotta have it just so, just like I like it. Mass. Power says, peace, be still. Force is active, aggressive. Power is passive and yet potent, omnipotent. Force shows up as war, as weapons. Power shows itself forward through prayer. Prayer is its language and our connection to that power and from that power. Force is control, holding on to self, to others, to situations, to circumstances. Force gets upset when it can't be in control, when the thing that force holds on to slips through our fingers. Power, on the other hand, is letting go, surrender, trust. Force is impatient, power is patient. Force practices what Eric Butterworth, Unity minister and author, referred to as practicing the absence of God. In other words, I'm separate. God's somewhere far away from me. Power, on the other hand, affirms and practices the presence of God right here, right now, always. Certainly, there's lots of examples in our real world. You have, which is more powerful, the rock or the sword, rather, that we cleave upon a rock and try to slice that rock in half, or shoot it with a gun, crack it in half, or is it the water that flows over the course of years and whittles that rock down to a tiny, smooth little pebble? You guys who know me know that I'm a big movie buff, and one of my favorites from my younger years was the Batman movie from 1989. Classic example of power versus force. You have Batman standing poised at the ready, and there's one of the Joker's henchmen that's this crazy guy. He's got these two katana blades, and he's and all of that force is coming at Batman, and he's right here. And he barely had to move, and he knocked him out on his keister. And it didn't take much. It just took power. It took patience. It took poise. And you've heard me say this before, those of you who've known me a while. What we resist persists, and what we embrace dissolves. In our human experience, we can often fool ourselves into thinking that there's this enemy, this other, whether that is another person or a circumstance outside of our control, of our making, that is looming, and we just gotta put up our defenses against that thing, whatever that thing may be for us. And in our teaching, we say, offer mental non-resistance, and the enemy invariably crumbles before you. We always have a choice, friends, no matter how it may appear. So between force and power, where between those two poles does the true strength lie? Think about it. Elsewhere in the 12 Powers book, within that chapter on will, Fillmore says we do not need less will, we need more understanding. Understanding. Certainly our relationships with one another and with Spirit, but just an understanding of just exactly what it is we're talking about, just the things that we're teaching. Need to understand them, right, before we put them into practice. For me, there's a poem by the great New Thought poet Ella Wheeler Wilcox that illustrates the power of will better than anything that I've possibly ever read, and some of you have heard me quote from this before. It's called The Winds of Fate. One ship drives east, and another drives west, with the self-same winds that blow. 'Tis the set of the sails, and not the gales, that tell them the way to go. Like the winds of the sea are the winds of fate. As we voyage along through life, 'tis the set of the soul that determines its goal, and neither the calm nor the strife. And oftentimes we can feel tossed about by the wind. You know, our mood depends on what we saw in the news that morning. Or that guy I always talk about that cuts us off in traffic. You know that guy. But we always have a choice. First of all, we celebrate Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, our co-founders through the month of August, because they were both born in August. And August just so happens to be my birth month as well, and a good handful of folks in our community too. And so my journey with Unity started rather early in life. It started with the publications of Unity, particularly the Daily Word, the Unity magazine. And years ago, there was a children's magazine that was published called We Wisdom. And that was inaugurated early on in the Unity movement by our other co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, the wife of Charles. And so a lot of the little sayings and little affirmations that I've carried with me all my life, I learned when I was 4 or 5 years old, reading them out of the We Wisdom. Just amazing. And so I have a lot to be grateful for. And it wasn't until I was just over 9 years old that my mother had a friend that introduced her to this church community. And neither she nor I nor her mother, being my grandmother, knew that there was a church affiliated with these wonderful publications, or that there was such a church right here in Columbus. And that it had been here all our lives. And so when I started here, I started in the Sunday school and was just felt very much at home, similar to many of your stories of your first experience with Unity. It's like, this is a place where I can be me. All right. And I got to know quite a few friends that were around my age, including Jolene's 2 sons. And so a lot of lifelong friendships were formed in those years. And so, fast forward, I got into my high schooling and then college and got into young adulthood and got into this and that, and I was away for a while. And then when I came back, I became more dedicated to making the commitment to be an active member here, got into various things, helped out with the youth program that we had at that time. And most notably, since 2014, I've served on our board of trustees, off and, well, more on than off. I did about to finish my second 3-year term, and I was on for a little while in between. And I will say that the board service got me through a lot of stuff in life. The very day that I was elected was the 2nd day of November, 2014, and it was on that same day that I learned that my marriage was coming to an end. And so in a very real sense, that first year and a half or so that I was on my first term, I was going through my own divorce experience, and about a year and a half in, our former minister stepped away. So it's like the church was going through a divorce at the same time I was. A really kind of a strange parallel course, and so dealing with those transitions, the teachings, and an understanding of these teachings really helped me get through certainly my personal experience, but also it helped ground me and keep me focused for the time of transition the church entered into at that time. And so, there have been just so many benefits. I've got a couple of months left, about 2 months and 2 weeks left, I believe it is. And the benefits of having served on this board are immeasurable. Certainly, I've gotten to know some of the folks in our community better, just working with them, but also got to know myself and really put these teachings that I've been hearing my whole life to the test, in terms of operating the business of ministry and then the work-life balance of that and my other job where I'm not a volunteer. So it's been quite a journey, and I feel so grateful that I made that commitment to Spirit, to my personal growth and unfoldment, and skills development, certainly, and leadership, and my commitment to you. For you are my people, my community, the people that I am grateful to serve. And this movement of unity has been such a blessing to my life for all of my life. So I got nothing but gratitude, and I'll continue to give back, certainly beyond this board experience. So once again, come back to Carlisle. Every day that is born into the world comes like a burst of music and rings itself all the way through, and thou shalt make of it a dance, a dirge, or a grand life march, as thou wilt. The power of will is the will to commit and the will to be willing. In other words, the will to say yes, yes, this is my path. Yes, this is the way I want to go. This is the direction I set my sails. And it is also the part of us that says, and I want to keep going, because no matter what the journey is, just as sure as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, there will be challenges on that road. But will is that part of us that gives us the stick-to-itiveness to continue on. The next 2 Sundays, our new minister of record, Reverend Dan, will be joining us from his remotely from his home in Florida, and he'll be talking about kind of that next step where will meets the power of order, which is the next in the 12 powers, and that putting our one foot in front of the other and really navigating the challenges of whatever path it is, career or otherwise, that we've gone on, that we've decided to step into. President Lincoln said, "Commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. Commitment is what transforms a promise into reality." And so it's the will to be willing. And so I'll close with this very special statement from our parent organization of Unity. This is what the Unity movement, and us, Unity of Columbus, certainly as part of the Unity movement, is committed to, is willing to be in this ever-changing world, in the awakening world that we talk about in our mission statement. So, this is their statement of social action position. You can find this on our website, by the way, unityofcolumbus.org, under About Us. Webster defines the word unity as the, quote, the state of forming a complete and pleasing whole. At this time in the evolution of the planet and the lives of human beings upon it, the task of forming a complete and pleasing whole is the imperative for positive evolution and harmonious existence for all. This perspective has seemingly been lost, our wholeness, our oneness, our sameness as a human race. We must now remember more than ever that we have much more in common than that which divides us. The Unity movement stands for and will tirelessly work for harmony so all people may know the freedom of peaceful expression, so that they may know their own inner worth, an essential contribution to the whole of life. Where there are divisions of opinions, beliefs, and perspectives, unity embraces curiosity, exploration, and expanded awareness of the gifts of diversity. It speaks to our core value of learning. We're learning. We're curious. Where there is fear of the other, unity stands for inclusivity and peaceful acceptance of another's right to create the life of his or her choosing. Where there is oppression and hatred, we stand for justice and understanding, and for extending compassion, kindness, and forgiveness to restore balance. And finally, where there is discrimination, we stand for inclusivity and equality. We pledge to be an advocate for the well-being, respect, and civil freedom of every human being. Any proposal or action that seeks to discriminate against individuals or classes of individuals based on prejudiced, stereotypic profiles of national origin, class, creed, race, ethnicity, physical ability, sexual orientation, or gender identity is in opposition to the core beliefs and values established by our founders. We choose unity. In harmony with the divine spirit, we stand so we may live in a spiritually awakened world that is continually evolving. This is our prayer and our decree. Through our actions, we let it be. And so, you're invited, certainly, if you choose to do so. Anytime you're posting on social media, use the hashtag #ChooseUnity, hashtag #ChooseUnity. All one word, choose unity. And so, I'll ask the question, where do you set your sails as individuals, as a ministry, in your families, in your community, through our state, our country, our world? Do you choose power or do you choose force? Do you choose unity? We make of it all a dance, a dirge, or a grand life march as we will. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Daryn, for that inspiring message, As Thou Wilt. I'm reminded I may have to go back to my Netflix catalog and look up the Batman movie again. But again, thank you for the whole ideas of power and force and how do I want to set my sails and commit my life. Thank you. And now it is the time in our service when we tithe the gift of our treasure. We prosper through the act of giving. Our ministry is supported fully by your tax-deductible tithes, gifts, and love offerings. We are so grateful for you. We live in an abundant universe, and I invite you to affirm with me your love offerings by blessing it. I'll speak it once and invite you to repeat it. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. Together, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. And we give thanks for all of you who are here with us today, either remotely on a virtual platform or seated here in our sanctuary. We give thanks for all of you that make this Sunday service the wonderful experience that it is each week. We give thanks for Jim Maneri, our music and technical director. We give thanks for our guests. We give thanks for those who prepare our breaks in Wilson Hall next door. Please come and join us. And we give thanks for those who help with our grounds in every way. And again, let's give thanks for Daryn Wells, our speaker this morning. And Daryn, I'm going to invite you to come back up with our announcements for today.
Thank you. All right, I'll get through these relatively quick. Today, weather permitting, we will be departing from here in about an hour at 1 o'clock for our annual pilgrimage to Pagetown, Ohio. This is the birthplace of our co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore. It'll be a time, approximately 30 minutes of prayer, of celebration of our heritage as certainly one of the earliest established Unity ministries, but also for Myrtle Fillmore, for everything that she offered in prayer and healing. And weather's looking pretty good right now, so. New member orientation. If anyone is interested in becoming a member of Unity of Columbus, we'll be having 2 more orientation sessions offered this Saturday, the 4th of September, 11 to 12:30, and then 2 weeks from now, September 12th, 9 to 10:30, so before service. You can apply in the lobby. We have membership applications there, or you can apply online. There's a form there, unityofcolumbus.org, and go to the Connect tab where it says Unity Membership. Those of you who already are members, if you were not inducted as a new member this year, it's time to renew for 2022. I'll have to, unintentional rhyme there. Anyway, the World Day of Prayer is the 9th of September. They will begin online with a special ceremony and prayer service Wednesday the 8th, which I believe is at 8 p.m. Central. Visit unity.org/WDOP for more information. And we typically will have a prayer service in this room that evening at 7, so stay tuned for that. And we are accepting applications for nomination to the Unity of Columbus Board of Trustees. Our board liaison is Sydney Shear. We also have Chris Putnam there in the back, and we have Jolene. If anyone has any questions on how you can get involved, see one of those fine ladies, and they will make sure you have the information you need. And that's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Daryn. And again, I invite you to fellowship next door with us if you have the time, and are available at 1 o'clock to go to Pagetown. That's always an adventure. At this time, let us stand and affirm our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. In closing, let us raise our consciousness one person, one mind, one heart, one soul at a time. Turn to face one of your neighbors and let us listen to our closing song, Let There Be Peace on Earth.
peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. I set my sails Christward. Together, I set my sails Christward, and I believe in myself, and I believe in myself. And as it is, so we let it be. Amen.